let me know we're right at 11. All right. We want to give them all 30 seconds worth. Still good?
11 o'clock right now.
11 o'clock. All right, 30 seconds out.
Michelle is on mic too.
They said 30 seconds out.
No, just to ask questions.
Right. Chief Beach will be will help with the explaining.
But be specific with regard to cities and that kind of thing. Because like right now, as I look at that, it's still hard for me to understand.
Yeah.
I'm challenged.
Okay. Yeah, you just stand there. Yeah. Just stand in line right here. Ready? Ready? Good afternoon. My name is Captain Larry Kurtz. I am one of the PIOs here for the Canyon 2 incident. Thank you for taking the time out for joining us here today for the press conference. Today we're joined by the Unified Incident Commanders for the Canyon 2 incident. Behind me is Chief Steve Beach from CAL FIRE, Chief Pat Russell from Anaheim, Chief John Hawkins from CAL FIRE, Chief Brian Norton from OCFA, and Chief Dave Steffen also from OCFA. I'm going to give a quick rundown of the statistics on the fire, and then we're going to be joined by Chief Beach, who will give an overview. Behind me, the map that you see behind me, the red marks that you see are the open fire line as we go from Division Bravo and Charlie on the left-hand side. That's obviously on the east side of the 241 freeway, going down to the bottom there, the 261 at Division H, and Division Y and Zulu over there on the eastern flank of the fire. Our acreage is still at 7,500 acres. Our containment has gone up to 25%. We still have 5,000 structures threatened, with 14 structures destroyed, with 22 structures damaged. We have 1,098 personnel on the fire at this point. All evacuation orders are still in place. To give you a briefing of the operations, where we're at, and the operations for today, I present Chief Beach of CAL FIRE. Sir.
Good morning. I'd like to start off by reemphasizing the fact that this is a unified command, and the unified commander standing behind me, we stand with one voice, we have one unified objective, and we are working collectively to mitigate this incident. To restate the unified command, it is Anaheim City, Orange County Fire Department, and CAL FIRE. As stated earlier, we are still working on a damage inspection. The numbers that you have been given are preliminary. We expect them to change, both for the good and the bad, but we have people out there right now working on that, and we should have some much tighter numbers by this evening. Operationally, yesterday when we spoke last, I described what we were doing as a fire front following tactic, and I said it would change when we had the opportunity. Last night, we were given that opportunity. We have been going direct on the incident in its entirety since early evening last night, and we are making fantastic progress. For the most part, most of the fire on the west side of Highway 241, we have halted and in place. That doesn't mean it's out. But what we are saying is it is no longer expanding the perimeter, and we are actively engaged in there right now with fire control and protecting structures and working on those threats that still exist. Our focus is shifting to the east side of Highway 241, which is over in the Division Zulu and the Division Yankee area. That area is the wildland area. We are throwing a bunch of resources in there so that when the wind comes back to a normal onshore pattern, we are ready to receive that fire when it changes course and burns uphill. So that is one of our primary focuses today. And then the last thing I'm going to cover is repopulation. When we talked about it yesterday, evacuation we take very seriously. We don't ask people to leave their homes unless there's a reason. When we start to repopulate, it is just as important to us that we repopulate in a safe, orderly, efficient manner. So we are going to go down a checklist, and we are going to make sure that infrastructure is protected, that the electricity is intact, that the safety factors that we're concerned about are mitigated before we let you back into your homes. Our plan is to evaluate those evacuated areas right now, and then on a limited basis, we hope to start opening some of those evacuated areas this evening, and we will make that announcement through our normal media outlets, and we're going to do that in an orderly manner. So that is our goal. I can't make any promises, but we hope to have a lot of you back in your homes this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. We have time for a little bit of Q&A. If you have a question, please indicate by raising your hand. Yes, ma'am.
Larry, can you please address 2 weeks ago today, Canyon 1 fire started? We still don't know what the cause of that is. There's been a lot of talk here in Orange County about a fire bug or fire bugs on the loose. Can you please put that rumor to rest if in fact you do not believe that the original fire or this latest fire was started by an arsonist?
Well, as far as the cause of the original Canyon fire, that cause is still under investigation. Anaheim Fire and Rescue is spearheading that investigation, and it takes a lot of time, especially with these vegetation fires. We have to prove not only what definitely could have caused the fire, but we also have to disprove what couldn't have caused the fire. It's a long process, and unfortunately, time is something that people get frustrated, and believe me, the investigators can get frustrated as well. But we'd rather take the time to get the correct answer and the accurate answer rather than go fast and get something wrong.
So as a follow-up, we had a call from a viewer who was driving on Saturday out to Palm Springs and saw at Green River in the 91 smoke. There was smoldering in the black area where the fire had already burned. Is there a possibility that the fire that started yesterday started in the black area and was caused simply by the wind picking up a hot spot or embers in that black area?
The fire investigators that are working the Canyon 2 fire are looking at all possibilities for what started this fire. They're working hard with it, but unfortunately it is still under investigation, and we're not going to have those answers for you today. Once we do have, we get cleared by the fire investigators that they do have a definitive cause, we will release that to the media. Yes, ma'am.
So you guys are working now on the eastern flank. That's of most concern. What are the conditions like as of right now? Are the winds concerning you at this point?
Well, obviously yesterday the winds were a concern. It's what created a lot of this issue in the first place. Today what we're having is a flop of the wind system. The winds obviously are going to be pushing the fire a little bit more towards the eastern side. So we're shifting our resources. We're making sure that we're ready to mitigate that and try and prevent any further spread of this fire. Yes, sir.
25% containment. Are we to assume that a lot of that containment is along the freeway lines here, especially the 91 right up against the
The containment lines of 25% consist of all places around the fire. Now, when people talk about containment, there's a lot of confusion about what containment actually means. It means that the fire spread can be stopped and not have any additional acreage. But what we're doing is we're going along every inch of that fire line and making sure, one, it's cold, we mop in at least 100 to 200 feet inside the fire line, and we're also trying to put a scratch line or a physical fire break between the existing fuels and the area of the fire. And then we can start adding to that number. So you can have a fire that is not spreading any further, but we're still working towards that 100% containment. The goal is what we're all trying to get towards. Yes, sir.
You talk about the scratch lines in the building. Do you concentrate more on the areas where potentially there's fresh fuel that we should see in Yankee, or are you doing the same thing that those who compete on BC and J?
Yes, all of the above. We take every opportunity we can to go on offense on this fire. The opportunities present themselves with the topography, with the accessibility of the land, but also with the priorities of the people that we want to protect. We take all those into account when we look at exactly where we want to put resources to get scratch line around this fire, sir. Yes, absolutely. We don't want this fire to access any areas where it's going to be able to take advantage and put us back on the defensive again. Yes, sir.
What neighborhoods may be the most focus on today that may be the most at risk?
Actually, all the neighborhoods, we're concerned about, particularly the ones that, we have evacuated, the ones that we feel if there was a wind shift, it could possibly affect the neighborhood areas. So what we're taking the whole fire into account, what the weather could be doing, what the fire could be doing, and we try to assign our resources. We only have a limited number of resources here right now. We have more en route, but we're trying to get them in and around the fire as much as we can. Excuse me. Chief Beach can actually expand on that question, sir.
So thank you for that question. So as the fire crossed Highway 241, it impacted Anaheim City and then Orange City, and it's now also down in the unincorporated county area of Orange County. Each one of those communities was affected in a little bit different way as the fire hit those communities. To answer your question, our focus is that entire area. We still have threats in there that we have to go back and look at. We have tactical patrol that we have to complete. So even though the fire is not expanding like I talked about earlier, our focus is that entire western front to ensure that nothing occurs anymore today. And I know that's a vague answer, but we've got a lot of resources out there with some very specific control direction.
Chief, what is the weather forecast with regard to the wind? And when you talk about concerns on the western side, are we seeing big active fire like we did yesterday, or you're talking more about hot spots or small areas of flame?
So on the west side, we're not seeing active fire front like we did yesterday. And like we talked about yesterday, our priority was life safety and evacuation and fire front following. We changed our tactic last night and we were successful in doing that. On the east side, yes, active flaming front, and we are actively engaged with aircraft on the east side of 241 to try and limit the spread there.
So if the wind picks up today, what is the forecast?
So we're in a transitional period weather-wise, like we talked about. So the strong offshore wind or the Santa Ana winds that we saw yesterday have started to peter out. We're going to go back into what we feel is a very mild onshore flow starting this afternoon. Actually, it's starting to occur right now, which presents a little bit different issue for us on the eastern side of this fire.
So Life Canyon 1 moved into Corona. Is that a concern of yours today?
It is something we are preparing for. I won't say it's a concern at this point, but we are building a contingency plan for that.
You said you were going to have additional resources maybe coming in 24 hours. What are these can crews, dozers, something cut lines better, able to do that job or anything?
All of the above. So
How many more specific?
So our resources that we needed to mitigate the incident for today's day shift that went out there, we placed an order last night. We ended up pretty well. We got a lot of the resources that we needed through our ordering process. Understand that Northern California is undergoing a pretty significant situation. I'm comfortable with the tactical resources we have on the ground right now with what we have.
At what?
Fine, it's not.
Say that again?
You get those resources, fine. If not, you still feel you're okay.
Yeah, and what we've got is what worked all night is sleeping today, and they'll be back out here tomorrow. So we work them in a shift pattern.
At what point, Chief, are you going to decide when people can go back in? And we know that schools in Tustin are out today. They've shut down all the schools. When will those families know if school's on tomorrow? What time of day do you think you'll be able to make that decision?
So I don't want to commit to a time right now. I can tell you that our operations folks and our damage inspection folks are out working right now. Our priority is to start the farthest away from the fire's edge and release some of those evacuations, getting closer to the impacted areas. And understand the impacted area probably is not going to be released tonight. We're just way too early. But we want to, based on our comfort level, try and reel that evacuation a little bit closer to the fire line perimeter tonight. Our goal, and I talked to operations this morning, in fact all of our unified command agreed that our priority is by this evening, we expect to have some sort of limited repopulation.
Is there a way to quantify the amount of space and efficiency that has already burned because the fire 2 weeks ago?
In terms of acreage,
In terms of the line there, I mean, how much of that is abutting what is already just burned off territory?
so you're looking at way up where it says Division Z on the map is part of the perimeter of the Canyon 1 fire. Our concern is more south of that, down in Yankee, because if it progresses east, it's not going to be within the old burn. It's green field in front of that.
And the worry there is Cleveland National Forest.
Correct.
Where did this fire start?
Our preliminary indications said it started somewhere in the area of Highway 91 and Weir Canyon. Correct, John? Coal Canyon, I'm sorry, Coal Canyon.
So that's the old burn area.
It is in the area of that, yes.
Can we go over once again the damage to structures that we able to find?
So right now what we're releasing is 14 destroyed structures, and that is a combination of residential and outbuilding structures. And an outbuilding could be a detached garage, it could be a shed, it could be of a number of things. 22 structures of varying types of damage, which includes residential structures and outbuildings. And we expect to have a little bit firmer numbers on that this evening.
And what cities, sir, are those in, or county?
Those are in the city of Anaheim, the city of Orange, and the unincorporated county area of Orange, correct? And Cowan Heights. Okay, I'll turn it back over.
This concludes our press briefing for this morning. We thank you again for your attention. Again, for those who need additional information about the fire, we encourage you to contact our media line, area code 714-696-1817. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anaheim Fire and Anaheim Fire and Rescue on Facebook. Thank you very much again, and thank you.
Any idea of disruption?
Yeah, I gotta get